Here is a number that should stop you. The average American does 64 minutes of meaningful physical activity per week. 64 minutes. In an entire week, the recommended minimum is 150. Most people do not hit it. Now here is the other number. The Hadza people of northern Tanzania, one of the last surviving hunter-gatherer populations on Earth, do 75 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per day. In 2 days, the Hadza meet the American weekly recommendation. Same species, same biology, 14 times the physical output, and not one of them has ever been to a gym. Before we go any further, here is the thing that makes all of this more complicated. Ancient humans did not exercise. Not once. Not deliberately. Not a single ancient human woke up and decided today was leg day. Harvard evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman has spent decades studying extinct humans and living hunter-gatherers. His conclusion is simple and deeply uncomfortable. Exercise is a uniquely modern invention. When people don't exercise, we label them as lazy. But they are actually doing what we evolved to do, which is to avoid unnecessary physical activity. This is not an excuse. This is biology. Ancient humans were not lazy. They were conserving energy in an environment where energy was never guaranteed. Every calorie spent had to be earned. Wasting energy on movement that served no survival purpose was not noble. It was dangerous. The difference between ancient humans and modern humans is not motivation, it is the environment. Ancient humans did not choose to be fit. They simply could not avoid it. Here is what a normal day actually looked like. Researchers from the University of Arizona, Yale University, and Hunter College spent years living with the Hadza, tracking every movement with GPS devices and heart rate monitors. This was the first study to measure the cardiovascular intensity of a hunter-gatherer population throughout an entire day. What they found was not what they expected. The Hadza were not sprinting. They were not doing intense bursts of activity and then resting. They were simply moving, constantly, moderately, for hours walking across uneven terrain to find food, digging for tubers, carrying water, carrying children, carrying meat, climbing, building, processing everything by hand, no chairs, no elevators, no mechanical assistance of any kind. Everything that needed doing was done by the body. 75 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity per day was not a workout, it was just Tuesday. And crucially, the Hadza show almost no drop-off in physical capacity with age. In modern Western populations, fitness begins declining measurably in the 30s and accelerates significantly after that. In the Hadza, activity levels remain essentially the same across the entire adult lifespan. An elderly Hadza person is approximately as physically active as a young one. That is not genetics, that is continuous use. Now here is the bone. In 2015, researchers studying 7,000-year-old human remains published a finding that deserved much more attention than it received. Human hunter-gatherer bones from 7,000 years ago were structurally equivalent to the bones of orangutans. Orangutans, one of the strongest primates alive. An animal that can lift approximately 7 times its own body weight. An animal with arms strong enough to hang from a single limb for extended periods without effort. Human bones from 7,000 years ago, the same species as the people reading this, were that strong. And the researchers were clear about why. Not genetics, not diet, activity. The bones had been under continuous mechanical stress across a full human lifetime because the life required it. Their conclusion was direct. There is no anatomical reason why a person born today could not achieve the bone strength of an early human forager. We are not weaker because we are built differently. We are weaker because we stopped. Here is the part that is easy to misunderstand. Ancient humans were not strong because they trained. They were strong because strength was a side effect of everything they did. A hunter-gatherer never would have lifted a stone with the specific intention of improving muscular strength. They lifted stones because stones needed moving. They carried heavy loads because the food was heavy and the camp was far. They climbed because the fruit was up there. They dug because the water was down there. They ran because something was running. The strength, the bone density, the cardiovascular capacity, all of it was a byproduct, a consequence. The body adapting to the demands placed on it every single day without exception. There was no gym and no life, just life. And that life, maintained across approximately 84,000 generations of human history, produced bodies that were by every measurable standard more physically capable than what we are walking around in now. Now here is the running. Humans are, by one measure, the greatest endurance runners on the planet, not the fastest, not the strongest, not the most agile, the most enduring. A horse can outrun a human in any short race. So can a dog. So can almost anything with 4 legs and a functioning flight instinct. But over sustained distances, in heat, over hours, the human body has an advantage almost nothing else on Earth possesses. We sweat efficiently, continuously. All over the body, most mammals cool themselves by panting. Panting requires stopping or slowing. In sustained heat over long distances, panting becomes a bottleneck. Humans do not have this problem. We can keep sweating and breathing simultaneously at a pace most animals cannot maintain without overheating. This matters because of persistence hunting, a technique documented in 81% of surveyed indigenous societies across North America and recorded across dozens of cultures on every inhabited continent. The technique is simple and devastating. You do not need to be faster than the animal. You just need to keep going after it does not. Chase prey at a moderate pace. Keep it moving in the heat. The animal, whether antelope, deer, or kangaroo, will eventually overheat and collapse. Legs give out. Core temperature reaches a critical point, and then you walk up to it, no sprint required, no close quarter struggle, no enormous physical risk, just legs and time. The ability to keep sweating when nothing else can. The human body was not built for the gym, it was built for this. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. Everything we have just described, the bone strength, the daily output, the endurance architecture, was not a feature ancient humans developed. It was a feature they inherited, and then we dismantled it. 10,000 years ago, agriculture began. Grain could be stored, cities could be built, labor could be divided. Specialized. The farmer did not need to chase the antelope. The craftsman did not need to carry the meat across open plains. The merchant did not need to dig for the tuber. Every step forward in the organization of human civilization was a step that reduced the physical demand of daily life. The Industrial Revolution compressed a lifetime of physical labor into machines that did it faster. The Digital Revolution removed most of what remained. And with every reduction came a cost the body paid quietly over generations. Lighter bones, less cardiovascular capacity, muscles that build slowly and lose quickly because the signals that built them in the first place stopped arriving. The gym is not progress. The gym is compensation, a very expensive, very deliberate attempt to manually reproduce the physical stress that ancient human life delivered automatically. Every single day, whether you felt like it or not, ancient humans did not have gyms because they did not need gyms. They did not need gyms because there was no such thing as a day without physical demand. Here is the uncomfortable conclusion. The thumbnail for this video shows a caveman panicking under a stone barbell on a log bench. This would never have happened, not because ancient humans were not strong enough to lift heavy stones, because they would have had no idea why anyone would do that on purpose. The stone was not the point. The stone had somewhere to go. The camp needed building. The food needed carrying. The hunt needed running. Ancient humans did not train. They did not exercise. They did not schedule strength days or cardio days or rest days. They simply lived in a way that made all of those distinctions irrelevant. The Hadza spend 75 minutes a day in meaningful physical activity without once calling it a workout. Hunter-gatherer bones from 7,000 years ago were as strong as orangutans without a single deliberate repetition. Persistence hunters ran animals to exhaustion across open plains without a running shoe or a training plan. And the average modern human, same species, same biology, same inherited architecture, does 64 minutes of physical activity in an entire week and feels guilty about it, which is one way to put it.